Hello everybody, hope you're all doing well. My name is Steven and this is the Storytime channel. We've got some entitled parent stories today, so let's jump right into our first story of the day by SkylonTheDragon. So according to my mother, if I don't want to go on a last-minute holiday, I shouldn't play games in that time either. This is my third story here. If someone read my first story here, they'd know that my mother is really freaking annoying. She'd do whatever she can to make me feel bad and make me think I ruined her holiday. Ever since the summer holidays started, I've tried to keep myself physically and mentally fit. I'm 15, male by the way. In terms of physical, I did okay. I lost a bit of weight and spent hours on reflexes when playing games on a sim wheel. In terms of mentally though, not so much. My mother would make fun of me on how I was apparently fat and how I do nothing all day and just play games. A slight drought when closing the door, it's a slam according to her. I'm quite strong physically but weak mentally. I was quite frankly a lot happier in school than out, even though I was not allowed to play games during the weekdays. That's for another story. My dad is okay, he doesn't care and isn't as freaking annoying as my so-called mother. Story. This literally happened a few minutes ago. So I was watching a film in the living room when my mother called me and my brother in to talk with us. So, we weren't able to go anywhere during the holidays, so I was hoping on going to some caravans for 4 days in a week. A week from now, I think, would be the final week until I go back to school. That means we would go from Monday to Thursday on caravans, only leaving me and my brother Friday to Sunday to prepare. Entitled mother to brother, when does your college start? If it starts before date, then we're not going. So, do you want to go or not? This next bit is stupid. I say, no, that leaves us barely enough time to prepare for school. Brother says, and college? It's my second year, yes, but I still need to get a lot together. Entitled mother targeting me, well, if you don't want to go, then for a week, you won't have any games to play. Now, in her eyes, all I think about is games. Yes, that might be true, but I'm hoping to become a professional sim racer, which, if you don't know, has games, is extremely fun, and you can compete for money if you'd like. We didn't take that well. Me and my brother said, what? You heard me. If we're not going, then neither of you will be playing games. I walk away at that point saying, you did ask if we wanted to go. I said no, and look who's getting pissed off because we said our opinion. I closed the door on her yelling and didn't want to see her unfair butt for the rest of the day. I might be an a-hole in the situation, but I'm an introvert and we've already been to many places when we were supposed to be in quarantine. Anyways, either way, if we went or not, I still wouldn't be able to play. So in my eyes, the whole thing was her idea to get us away from gaming. Freak you. This is a really tough situation. The story as a whole kind of reminds me of the whole situation where I'm sick and I stayed home from school, and because I'm home from school, I can't play games because, I don't know, there's something lazy about it even though you're sick. That said, this story's on a whole other level. Do you think it's even worth trying to have a conversation with her about this, or do you think it wouldn't help? Let me know in the comments down below. This next story is by the Mad Queen 96, entitled Mother Says My Cousin Trying to Set Fire to My Bedroom Is No Big Deal. Hey folks, me again. You may remember my last story about my mother poisoning me. Well, in that post I mentioned she'd done other things and I may share that in the future. Much like last time, there is some context and I will be providing a TLDR at the bottom. 1. My youngest cousin, 14, apparently did not take the news of me coming out well. According to my mother, yes, I know she's unreliable, he took it badly, and again, it was another example as to how I was destroying the family. 2. My youngest cousin is a little crap. One of those kids with a disorder whose behavior when he was small was dismissed as said disorder instead of it being challenged whatsoever. Allowed to run rampant and throw volcanic tantrums, even intimidating his parents into getting whatever he wanted at a young age. Giving into tantrums was easier than doing the same thing and, well, not doing that. As he grew older, he became self-aware and uses his autism to get away with everything. There is an entire thread worth of things he did as a child, but this is r/entitled parents, not a sub for crazy cousins. I was diagnosed with Asperger's myself, and not only was I given leeway as a child, but I had the decency to not use that as an excuse for actions. This is not really relevant to my story, but I'm throwing it in case people think I may be being too harsh on my cousin. Let it be known that he is a little crap. Always has been, and this has only gotten worse as he's gotten older. This guy used to hold his entire family hostage and was aware he was doing it. Even as a teenager, his parents let him do whatever he wants as it's easier than dealing with him throwing a huff or something. He had 2 teenage girls in his bedroom on Christmas Eve, but was allowed to do so. Keep in mind, he's 14, as it was the easier option. My 2 older cousins would have never been able to do anything like that as teens, and this is just one example. My older cousins were home and it was my grandmother's birthday. We celebrated at my mother's and, at the time, my house. My youngest cousin is being his usual self, being rude, cheeky, and staring at his phone the whole time, not even bothering to wish his granny a happy birthday or engage with her at all. Pretty standard behavior for him. As is probably obvious with some of the stuff I've already said, I really don't like him. And he really doesn't like me since I came out. He doesn't show it too much because, again, he's on his phone the entire night. No drama because I'm in stealth mode for my grandmother and one of my uncles who have no idea, but mom is her passive-aggressive self. Again, a pretty standard evening with the extended family. The night progresses, there's cake, and at some point my cousin asks my mother if he can see the matches she used to light them with. She hands him the box and goes on her merry way while he buggers off somewhere, but I don't think much of it and continue hanging out with relatives I actually like. The other cousins, my grandmother, and my 2 uncles, and it's pretty chill overall. Eventually, everyone goes home and we're left with me and my mother. In order to avoid her like I usually do, I go up to my room and find that my duvet and bedsheet has been pulled back slightly, pillows messed up. I also see what I thought at the time was dirt all over my bed. It was obvious that my crappy cousin had been in my room, without asking I might add, and had trailed dirt inside by wearing his football shoes on the bed or something. At least, that is what I thought at first. On closer inspection, it turned out to be ash. Now, he'd left the matchbox downstairs at some point, but scattered around my bed and on the bedroom floor were about a dozen or so used matches. I go from being annoyed to being horrified. I have a wooden bed and other pieces of furniture in the room that are wooden too. He had been lying in my bed and trying to set fire to it. Now, that may seem far-fetched, but remember that my cousin not only hates my guts, but he has no idea what consequences are due to his upbringing, and he also has a long history of acting out due to that. I gather up the matches and bring them to my mother downstairs. She isn't even annoyed at what my cousin tried to do, which I call her out on for obvious reasons, and she claims she's just more shocked than annoyed even though she was smiling away and everything. So, inevitably, we argue over it. I keep trying to get her to see just how serious this is, over and over again, but it's not a big deal. It goes on for several minutes, and eventually I just come to an ultimatum. I tell her that I don't want my cousin back in the house. That's not for you to decide. You can't just have people not come over. I keep going, and I eventually do something pretty stupid. I tell her that so long as my cousin comes over, I won't be there. The next time there's a gathering and he's invited, I just won't go. I give her a choice between him or me as I no longer feel safe around my cousin. Kid's only 14, but he tried to burn my stuff because he hates my guts for goodness sake. Well, sure, you're never here anyway. Of course, referring to the fact that I was spending a lot of time with my best friend mentioned in the other story to get away from my mother. Another attempted guilt tripping, I guess, as per usual. She'd rather run the risk of having her house burn than have me over. That's how much this woman hates me. I'm sure she'd just turn it around on me and blame me for it though, because that's the status quo. In fact, it's apparently my own fault that my cousin hates me as much as he does. If a cousin of mine went up into my room and then tried to set fire to it, I would also be pretty darn concerned. I would be researching ways to get a new doorknob on the door that you could lock or something, just any kind of way to just keep them out of your room. Not only would I be concerned about them trying to damage something, but just like anything they could do if they're in your room alone to any of the stuff you like or you own. They're obviously trying to hurt you. They try to burn your room down. And our final story of the day is by Big E74, Entitled Dad doesn't want to wait for a pizza or pay for a delivery. This happened around 6 years ago. I worked at a pizza place after my job decided to do some corporate downsizing. I lived in a small community and this was the first job I could land while I continued to look. There wasn't a lot of money in the community and the residents were a combination of cheap and lazy, a horrible combination. It meant that me, as the delivery driver, was always out driving and I wouldn't get much of a tip, if any. The owner didn't charge a delivery fee within 6 miles, thinking it would make people more generous to the driver. Trust me, they weren't. There were 2 other pizza places in the town of roughly 7,000 residents just in that town, and we went up to 10 miles from the shop. I have a multitude of ungrateful customer stories. I'm going to focus on this one family. They lived 4/5 of a mile from the shop. They would order typically 3 times a week and always the same item. A 24-inch Sicilian pizza with the same 2 toppings. The thing was, the entitled father would come into the shop on his way home from work, pay in cash, leaving no tip in the jar, and then would demand his pizza be delivered to his home and leave. I put up with this and had it at my wit's end after about 6 months. That day we had severe weather hit that evening and I was in the middle of a dense forest when it hit. My car was dented by hail. I couldn't see more than 20 feet in front of me and I had to go around several downed trees on this dirt road on my way back to the shop. I was a wreck when I got back to the shop. Power was out and the other workers weren't taking orders. The shop's assistant manager decides that we're going to finish the orders that we already started and call it a day. The phone was going off the hook and I grabbed 2 ready deliveries and take off. In the time I was gone, the owner comes in. Let's call him Gene, as he was really Mr. Krabs in every aspect except he was from Sicily. Gene had come in when the power came out and told us off for denying orders, saying the oven is still warm and to keep filling orders until it cools off. While I was out, the entitled father had come in and ordered his regular order. My stress level was still running on high as the storm is still raging, and it went up when I saw Gene standing in the kitchen. He told me off for agreeing with the others on closing early. I see more orders on the line and quickly look and start muttering profanities when I saw entitled father's address. Gene asked me what was wrong. I explained the customer to him. I drive the pizza to the house and it's a complete downpour outside. Entitled parents never answered the door and always sent their son. Now I'm completely drenched, standing on their doorstep and slide the kid the pizza. When I returned to the shop, I saw Gene hanging up the phone. The conversation is the best that I can remember. Gene says, "What the heck just happened?" "Well, what do you mean?" "Entitled father just called and complained because his pizza box was wet." "Gene, it's pouring outside and there's no covering over his front door." "Well, did he tip you?" "Kind of." "What does that mean?" When the kid took the pizza, entitled mother yelled, "Drive safe," and then I said "yep" to myself as I walked away. Gene told the kitchen staff to charge him the $2 delivery fee next time. 2 days later, entitled parent came in when I was waiting for a delivery and helping the crew make pizzas. Being that he gets the same thing every time, he knew the price had gone up and was making a scene. I walked up and asked if there was an issue. Now note that I'm 6'2" and heavy built. At the time, I was strength training before work and light jogging or taking long walks after work. He is small and looks like a weasel. "Yes, this girl overcharged me." "No sir, this is for the pizza and this is for the delivery." "There's no delivery fee." "Call it a new policy. We can waive it if you want for your pizza. It will be ready in about 15 minutes. We're already preparing it. We know your regular order." "I don't want to wait." I take one of our business cards from the holder and slide it to him on the counter. "Next time, call ahead and it will be ready before you get here." He was pretty unhappy and sat down in our dining area where we had a Yankees game on and he watched it. I had another delivery and left. He was gone when I returned. Gene said that he went off on the girls when the pizza was ready and said he was going to go to one of the other pizza places in town. I said he would be back, that they wouldn't put up with his crap. About 3 weeks later, I get back and on top of the oven is a ticket for entitled dads on a Sicilian pizza box and a $1 bill. I asked the girls and they said that entitled dad came in and asked to give me this. I found out from a worker at the other shop that he tried to pull this trick on the owner and they wouldn't waive their delivery fee for him. The moral of the story, kids, if you can't afford to tip a delivery driver or can't come pick up a pizza, you shouldn't be ordering in the first place. I'm not the greatest tipper, I'll admit, but if I'm ordering a delivery, I always tip the delivery driver. And oftentimes the places I order from are allowing you to order online and tip online, so you don't even have to have that exchange with a delivery driver. I don't know how much they're ordering, but a tip shouldn't really even be much more than like $3 to $5. It's not that crazy much more. And if they're delivering during a hailstorm, you should give them a little bit of a tip, let's be real. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today, so if you enjoyed the stories today, please consider giving the video a like, and if you haven't, subscribe and turn notifications on so you'll never miss an upcoming video. And if you had a favorite story of the day, let me know which one and why in the comments down below. But no matter what you did, whether it was liking, commenting, subscribing, whatever you did, thank you all so very much for supporting me right here on the Storytime channel. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and as always, I'll be back tomorrow with more Reddit stories right here on the Storytime channel.